So earlier this year, Ubisoft announced that they're working on Assassin's Creed Infinity. This is a working title. I don't think the game is going to be called that when it finally comes out. But what Infinity aims to be is more of an evolution of the previous single-player experiences that they've been releasing nearly annually now. Because I think Ubisoft also starts to realize that releasing these annual games that are big, very expensive, and just take a lot of effort and time to make, they wear off quite quickly in interest, right? That's why they have to bring them out annually, and it's just a lot of work to put into a game for which people then lose interest quite quickly. So their idea is now to turn this franchise into a live service game, which is basically, if you don't know what that is, I would probably compare it to Fortnite or Warzone, where you have like seasons and regular content drops, and it keeps the game more relevant for a longer period of time. Now, so far, there's not a lot that we know about Assassin's Creed Infinity, but let's go quickly through the stuff that we do know. So it will offer multiple historical settings and get updates over time. It is in early development and won't come out anytime soon. The earliest or the soonest we can expect it to come out would be 2024. It's being co-developed by Ubisoft Quebec and Montreal, which, correct me if I'm wrong there, but they are the two biggest and most powerful studios that Ubisoft has. So they're really pulling all the force together to make this thing happen. And those are also the two studios that were responsible for Odyssey and Valhalla, which I think, again, correct me if I'm wrong, were the financially two most successful Assassin's Creed games in recent time. And also they got a lot of positive fan feedback. People loved it. People loved the whole open world. Not necessarily the game and the gameplay changes they did, but exploring these worlds, they were very well done, very beautiful, and just huge. Ubisoft has also confirmed in this article that just came out October 28th, so not that long ago, that the game will not be free-to-play. So CEO Yves Guillemot has said that it's going to be a huge game. It's not going to be a free-to-play game. The game is going to have a lot of narrative elements in it, and it's going to be a very innovative game. Whenever Ubisoft says we're making an innovative game, it's like, no, you're not. You haven't made an innovative game in so many years. What Ubisoft does, I've said it in countless previous videos, but they decide, like people in suits make decisions, and the rest is just decided by focus groups, right? You have loads of people sitting in focus groups, and if they say, oh, we don't like this dress this guy is wearing and the pants is a bit too short. Oh, we have to cut the pants short. Everyone has to like it. The ambition of Ubisoft games is always that everyone has to like it. And as a result, you get these kind of watered down concepts that are unable to pull through like one creative vision. That's ultimately the problem, in my opinion, that Ubisoft games have, but I ranted on about that many, many times before. So they say it's going to be a very innovative game, but it will have what players already have in the other Assassin's Creed games. All the elements they love right from the start. It's going to be a huge game, but with lots of elements that already exist in the games that we published in the past. Okay, that's interesting. So let's look at what exactly he says, right? It's going to have loads of elements that already existed in the games we published in the past. Players will get what they already had in the previous Assassin's Creed games. That takes me to the leak, because we had a huge leak, came out a few days ago, and it breaks down quite a bit of information about the game. I'll link it down in the description. We're not going to go through the whole thing, but we're going to go through the key points of this leak. Key point number one is Infinity will effectively be a reboot of the Assassin's Creed franchise. Many of the defining moments of the series will remain the same, but conflicting events or stories that are widely disliked will either be retold or removed entirely from the new continuity. I love this. That's interesting, right? That's an interesting point to make. I think everyone agrees that the lore of Assassin's Creed at this point kind of stopped making sense after Assassin's Creed 3. Okay, it just got so convoluted and messy that not even Ubisoft knows what the lore is at this point. So maybe this is a good opportunity to clean it up a bit, simplify it a bit, make it understandable again so people actually know what these games are about. The other aspect that already has been partly debunked, that was interesting in this leak, is that the game will not focus on a single assassin and will instead release for free with a number of smaller stories, each featuring different assassins. Okay, so it's not free, we already know that. Yves Guillemot said it's not a free-to-play game, we're not making it free-to-play. After the initial release, additional stories will be available for currently an undetermined amount. So that would indicate that they are thinking about retelling some of the previously experienced stories, and with that expand kind of the content of what Infinity could be. So for example, you could imagine they're retelling parts of Assassin's Creed 2, just a part of it, not the whole thing, maybe a part of Florence or something. You could imagine, you come out and if you look at the leak, actually you get a bit more detail. You get a map like this that show the three capitals, or like the areas around the capitals of the 16th century gunpowder empires. So you might have like the big capital cities in each one of those 3 areas to start Assassin's Creed Infinity off. But then later, maybe they're adding something like a bit of a remake or a retelling of part of the story of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. And with that, then you would like introduce some kind of ship mechanic into the game, right? So that would come with the Black Flag update, and then they would retell that. So they might pick up like some other cues from Assassin's Creed 1 or 2, fan favorite cities, fan favorite areas, and introducing them as content updates to Infinity. I think that does kind of make sense. Another question that a lot of fans raised when reading about this leak is, how far will they actually go with the reboot? Okay, are they gonna rethink the game mechanics? Are they possibly go back to the roots a bit more with more stealthy gameplay, with more like thievery type gameplay? And actually, the leak is answering on that a little bit. It says, Infinity is inspired by the Helix from Unity, meaning each entry will be a smaller, linear experience with semi-open world levels like the Hitman games, and each assassin's story will feature multiple missions. So that's something I quite like, right? Because I think one big point of complaint, and even while people liked Valhalla and Odyssey, and it was huge games, I think people would like to see this series kind of go back to its original assassination roots, in the sense like a Hitman game, right? In Hitman, you do have open worlds. It is like a massive opera house or like this fashion show in Paris. And these are big, fairly big open world maps. But it's not at a scale that it makes no sense anymore. And you just open the map and you're like, oh my God, all these markers. And it is really, it's not a pleasant experience to do that, at least for most players. So condense it, boil it down, focus it on a smaller environment, bring it back to the roots and make it a bit simpler. Make it more about narratives, about stories, about assassinations, about stealth gameplay. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand with the idea of introducing new content, because they're not going to be like, oh, here's some new content, season 3, and we're introducing the whole city of Florence. That is it's just a bit too much, you know. Or you can't keep up with that content loop. If you really want to keep the game up to date, you would have to create way too much content for each update. So boiling it down to smaller areas, to smaller, more narrative-driven experiences, kind of makes sense in that context. So I think there's a lot of speculation going on, and it does sound fairly interesting. I don't think everything's horrible. I think generally that Ubisoft says, hold on, we kind of have to rethink what Assassin's Creed has become and where we want to go from here. That's a good thing, okay? But on the other hand, when they're like, it's very innovative, I get scared, okay? I get scared when Ubisoft says we're doing an innovative game, because that's not going too well. Ubisoft is not that good at innovating things anymore at this point, which is why they have relied on this ever reoccurring formula of their games for so many years now. But anyway, these are just my thoughts, taking you through the leak. What are your thoughts? Do you think that's a good idea? Would you appreciate Ubisoft going back to smaller, more thievery, assassin, narrative-driven games in kind of a Hitman style? Or do you want to see, if they go for Assassin's Creed Infinity, do you want to see like ideally the whole world? The whole of Europe has to be one big open world, and I want to ride around. Where's your head at? What would you prefer as a hardcore Assassin's Creed fan, potentially? Because I like the games, but I'm not a hardcore fan. Leave that down in the comment section below. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. If you liked the video and you enjoyed it, then smash the like button, subscribe to the channel for more, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm out. Bye.